Before we get into this, just a really quick public service announcement. If you're interested in doing a mock draft live with me, well, I got some good news for you because I'm going to be doing one final one where you guys have the say in how the mock draft goes live. It's going to be going down tomorrow, Wednesday, the 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern time. It's on the Callin app, which is linked in the description. Go ahead, click it, download it. It's a completely free app. It's a really cool way for us to connect. Plus, we go live on there twice a week. It's going to be a great time again tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern. I hope all of you guys have a chance to show up. Let's get into this draft. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my first ever mock draft. As you can tell, I'm taking this very seriously. I think it's safe to say I've gotten into the draft spirit. Lately, I've done a ton of mock drafts, and today I'm going to make it official. We're going through the entire first round, all 32 picks. We're sending it. And what do you know? The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock. Hear me out. I want to make this very clear here. I'm going for correct picks. I'm not going with who I think that each team should take. With the number one pick, I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the Jacksonville Jaguars will be picking up edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson. Vegas doesn't lie. It's minus 300 odds for them to take him. Aiden Hutchinson is an animal, and from what I remember, their defensive line is laughable. Who do they have? Dwayne Smoot. Yeah, you heard that right. We're taking Aiden Hutchinson, number one overall. Up next is the Detroit Lions. As you can see, their number one need is quarterback. And a couple weeks ago, whenever I was doing these drafts, I kept drafting a quarterback. It was Malik Willis for the Lions. It made sense to me. I couldn't reason why the heck that they would want to have Jared Goff. But now it's really seeming like these quarterbacks have fallen back a little bit. I think there's a chance that some of them could drop. And number two overall is way too early. In my opinion, I think they're going to go for one of two guys, either Trayvon Walker or Kayvon Thibodeau. And from all the research that I've done, it seems like they would be leaning Trayvon Walker. So with a number two overall pick, another edge rusher, the Lions take Trayvon Walker. The Texans are up next. They need a lot. I think that's pretty safe to say. Their team is so terrible. Now, a lot of people have them taking an offensive lineman here, maybe somebody like an Evan Neal or an Ike Mekwonu. I'm not buying into that. The Houston Texans need somebody that's going to put people in the seats. And why not consider Kayvon Thibodeau at pick number 3 here? Now, hear me out. I feel like the Texans can look back into the good old days of J.J. Watt in his prime. Now, no, I'm not necessarily making that comparison, but the thought is enticing. And I feel like they understand on what a really good edge rusher could do for them. So we're going to go with our third edge rusher in a row. I don't know if people are doing this. It could happen. I'm expecting it to happen. And we're being a little bit different here. So the New York Jets up next. Their needs absolutely wide receiver. They can get some offensive linemen to help out Zach Wilson, or they can go in the secondary. I was doing a little bit of thinking and going back to whenever the Jets had a really good defense under Rex Ryan. And on their team, they had one of the best lockdown cornerbacks that I've ever seen. That was Darrelle Revis. They need a really good cornerback. The best cornerback in the draft is Sauce Gardner. So with pick number 4, we're going to pass on receiver. We're going to pass on offensive line. And you better believe that our boy Ahmad Gardner is going pick number 4 to the New York Jets. Now, you guys got to let me know how you feel about all these picks, especially as a fan of these teams. Feel free to go down to the comments. Don't roast me too much here. The New York Giants are up. They have near back-to-back picks 5 and pick 7. Now that Thibodeau is gone, because I truly believe that they would take him if he was available, probably at number 5. I don't know if they would wait for him to try to slip to pick 7. It's possible because the Panthers could take an offensive lineman. But since Kayvon's not there, the Giants, let's be real, they've been trying to build up their offensive line for a few years now, probably 2 or 3 years from what I remember. They're going to have their first shot at any offensive lineman that they want. I'm a big fan of Ike Mekwonu, but I believe Evan Neal is going to be the first offensive lineman out of Alabama. Let's bring him to New York. Carolina Panthers on the board. This is where things get interesting. This is the first trade down scenario, if you want to think about it that way. Which that reminds me, I'm not doing any trades for this. We're just going to go straight down with the picks, not to get too confusing with anything. If you want me to do one with trades, let me know down in the comments. I might do it. So because they're going to keep their pick, there are 2 options for the Carolina Panthers. In my humble opinion, we're either going to go offensive line or we're going to take the first quarterback off the board. And that quarterback would more than likely be Kenny Pickett. I hate to say it, but I've been saying it for years now. Sam Darnold stinks, okay? He's just not good. He ain't it, Chief. Now, all the way up until a week or so ago, whenever I've been doing mock drafts, I've been giving him the quarterback, but I don't think they're going to do it anymore because it's just a reach. I don't know if it's worth it for them to do, and if they take a quarterback, I feel like they would trade down and then take a quarterback. So because of this, our second offensive lineman in a row, Ike Mekwonu, is going to go to the Carolina Panthers. Panthers fans, let me know. I know you probably feel very strongly about this pick. Do you guys want the quarterback here at this spot? Giants back on the board for pick number 7. Now, I haven't heard this guy's name been thrown thrown out at all for the New York Giants, but I really like Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. Let's get somebody alongside Leonard Williams and build up the pass rush. Jermaine Johnson going to New York. So I have them taking Evan Neal and Jermaine Johnson. 2 top 10 picks. Those are big. After that's the Atlanta Falcons. I would be absolutely mind blown if they didn't take a wide receiver. Now, the depth for these wide receivers, and I feel like this goes for most years, is pretty deep. Now, I know a certain Falcon fan that's been doing a lot of research that thinks they're going to take Drake London. I am not so convinced. We're going to be going out of Ohio State. Garrett Wilson, he is incredible after the catch. He really has some special moves and knows how to make defenders miss, and he'll fit in really well with Atlanta. Regardless, this has to be a near lock that this is a wide receiver, right? I mean, Calvin Ridley's gone. They also lost Russell Gage, I'm pretty sure. So the number 1 receiver is Zacchaeus, and he's not a number 1 wide receiver. He's not even close. This is a downright easy pick. Okay, now let's move on. I'm going to make things very clear. This pick here is one of the hardest picks for me to make. Now, this might be a little bit insane, but I'm going to make the pick and then I'm going to explain myself. I'm going Malik Willis here with pick number 9. So a couple things. Clearly, they lost Russell Wilson. That was their franchise guy. They end up with Drew Lock. Do you really think that Pete Carroll believes in Drew Lock as a starting quarterback? No, absolutely not. Maybe a bridge guy. If they take Willis, Drew Lock would more than likely start the season, at least the first couple games, until things went haywire. The main reason, though, why I feel like Malik Willis just makes sense, the Seattle Seahawks are not used to having a pick inside of the top 10, let alone at a time where they could use a quarterback. Granted, they could be back here next year again, but with the opportunity, why pass up on a guy that has a ton of potential? Plus, you want to be able to utilize DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Noah Fant. If you don't have that guy there, it's going to make all of them look even worse. Let's move along here with the last pick inside the top 10. The New York Jets with their second pick. We obviously took Sauce Gardner with their first selection. Now we're going to get Zach Wilson a little bit of help, and it's not going to be on the offensive line. Drake London will be their new receiver. They just haven't had a true number 1 receiver in as long as I can remember. And with all the draft capital that they have in Zach Wilson by taking him number 2 overall last year, you have to get him help to understand whether or not if he is going to be your guy or not. It's wide receiver or it's O-line. And with Drake London here, why not actually get Zach Wilson a weapon that he can be excited about? Pick number 11 now is up. We're outside of the top 10, and we have the Washington Commanders. Can't get over that team name. It's terrible. Nonetheless, there's a guy that a lot of people are saying might be one of the greatest safety prospects of all time, and that is Kyle Hamilton. And yes, you could say that they need somebody outside of Terry McLaurin, but I believe if Kyle Hamilton falls here to pick number 11, which I really feel like is a true possibility, that they just won't pass him up, because getting help in the secondary, whether it be cornerback or safety, you could say they need cornerback more. Like, I would definitely agree with that. Kyle Hamilton is a special player, and to get him outside of the top 10 without having to trade up to get him, money pick here for him. This one is so easy for me. You could say it's a little bit risky, but he definitely deserves to be talked about. Derek Stingley Jr., number 2 cornerback off the board, going to the Vikings. This is a team that has just been missing this piece for a few years now whenever Xavier Rhodes fell off and wasn't performing like he did earlier in his career. And then they pick up Patrick Peterson, which I'm pretty sure he's coming back for another year. He's old. Like, he's not a number 1 anymore. Like, I cannot imagine them not taking him here, because this is an big position of need for them. Texans up next. Again, we already gave him an edge rusher. They could use wide receiver. They could use a lot of positions. Here at pick number 13, though, we're going to give him Charles Cross, offensive tackle out of Mississippi State. People aren't talking about him as much as they had a little bit earlier, and I feel like that's because Aquanu's really rising up, and Evan Neal's just always been at the way top. Don't sleep on Charles Cross, though. It's a really good value pick at pick number 13. There was a point where I really believed he could get taken in the top 5. I don't think that'll happen anymore, but it's always a possibility. The Ravens up next. Oh, do I love this pick for him, and I wish this was a guy that could fall to my team, the Steelers. I don't see it happening. And even if it did, I'm not convinced that they would take it. Jordan Davis, an absolute animal. This man is huge. He can fill gaps. He's strong as heck. Now, this is what I think of. I always like looking into a team's past to see where they had success. Whenever the Baltimore Ravens had a really, really good defense, we're talking Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata. He was a home wrecker. He was a bulldozer. You didn't want to run the ball up the middle. That could be Jordan Davis for the Baltimore Ravens again. I can't stress enough how much I love that pick for Baltimore. Now, we have the Eagles. They've been wheeling, dealing. They're a team that are always down the trade. They still have 2 first-round picks, and their picks pretty close. We got one at pick 15. We got one at pick 18, so we got to keep that into consideration here. So the first thing that comes to my mind is, are they going to take 3 wide receivers in the first round 3 years in a row? I want to say no, but because they have 2 first-round picks, it's more enticing now. Looking ahead of them at pick number 16, the Saints would most absolutely consider a wide receiver here. Because of that, I'm going to take a wide receiver first, and we're going to see who falls to pick 18. We're going to go Jamison Williams out of Alabama to the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get somebody alongside Devontae Smith because Jalen Reagor is not panning out right now. And now we move on to the Saints right in the middle of the draft at pick 16. Keep in mind, they also traded their pick with Philadelphia. It was a weird trade, dude, but they have the pick 19 as well right in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Saints on defense, I really love what they have going on. They built up something really nice. And I know Cam Jordan's getting old, but with Marshawn Lattimore there and DeMario Davis and a young David Onyemata, they're headed in the right direction there. This to me, or at least the position, is just something that they cannot pass up. With Michael Thomas absent the past 2 years, you can't rely on Traquan Smith to be your number one guy. Let's be real. Not Marquez Callaway. Let's give him Chris Olave. He's been flying up draft boards. I'd be shocked if he didn't go in the first round. So we're going to give them him for their first pick in the first round out of 2. We're going to move on to the Chargers. This is an easy one. They don't need many things. They made a lot of really good acquisitions in the offseason. They traded for Khalil Mack. Didn't have to give up much. And they traded for my number one available free agent, which was J.C. Jackson. Love the pickup. Let's help out Justin Herbert so he doesn't have to run for his life. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. Now on to the Eagles' second first-round pick, pick number 18. This one here might ruffle some feathers. It might be a little bit earlier than a lot of people would take him, but George Karlaftis, edge rusher out of Purdue. Karlaftis is a beast. I'm telling you, whatever team gets him is going to be so excited. This is where things are going to get really interesting. Now, I got a little theory here. The Saints, in a very, very weird trade, traded with the Philadelphia Eagles to get the pick right before the Pittsburgh Steelers. We all know that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been thinking of taking a quarterback. With Sean Payton gone and Dennis Allen in as the new head coach, what oftentimes we see is that head coach going after a quarterback that he can develop and build up himself. Dennis Allen has the chance here to get his guy if he wants it. We're giving them Kenny Pickett sniped right in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Kenny Pickett is from Pitt. I would assume the Steelers would snag him up in a heartbeat. But I don't know. I'm telling you, I've been thinking about it way too much. They traded for that pick right before the Pittsburgh Steelers, which would force Pittsburgh to trade up if they wanted to get him. Now, this is where things really get interesting. With both of these quarterbacks gone right now, the Steelers have showed a lot of interest in Desmond Ridder. Is it Ridder? Is it Ryder? I've heard people say both things. I don't want to sound like an idiot here. Whatever I say, I know it's going to be wrong. There has been increasing talks about them getting a wide receiver. The Pittsburgh Steelers lost 3 wide receivers. They're left with Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson, and Deontay Johnson's asking for like $90 million, so he might be gone pretty soon. I don't necessarily think they should do that here with this pick just because they're good at drafting wide receivers later. It's got to be offensive line or it's got to be quarterback. If I had the pick, I'd go offensive line, but since I don't, there has been a lot of interest in a quarterback, and I would be shocked if the Steelers did not take a quarterback. These top 3 guys would have to be gone for them to even consider not doing that. New England Patriots up next. This is where the first linebacker is going to go off the board. It's either going to be Devin Lloyd or it's going to be Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean feels like a guy that can fit in New England. He's a smaller build, about 5'11", not a prototypical type linebacker. You know what? On the spot, I think I'm going to switch it up because originally I had him taking Devin Lloyd, but Nakobe Dean in New England, it's just ringing in my head right now. So let's do it. We're going to take Nakobe Dean as the first linebacker off the board. Green Bay Packers up next. If there was a team that was going to trade up, Green Bay would be one of them. If I had trades on, I would say they trade away both of their first round picks or at least one of them. Maybe they tried to trade for somebody like Deebo Samuel or go after a Tyler Lockett. DK might be a stretch, but with 2 first-round picks, maybe they could pull it off. He doesn't seem like he wants to leave Seattle, though. Because I'm not doing trades, we're going to draft them a wide receiver with their first pick. Come on, Green Bay, don't pass up on another wide receiver. We're going to dip down a bit, and we're going to take Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. He has special talents. I feel like he's not considered with these top 4 or 5 guys, but he should be. Remember where you heard this from. He might be one of the best wide receivers to come out of this draft class. Sky Moore to Green Bay. The Arizona Cardinals are up next at pick number 23, and under Cliff Kingsbury, what I've realized from previous drafts is they like taking playmakers. The past 3 years, they've just taken the best player available. Kyler Murray, Isaiah Simmons, Xavier Collins. What I'm going to do for them is draft them edge rusher Boy Mafe out of Minnesota. Let's think about this logically. They lose Chandler Jones to the Raiders, and J.J. Watt is still there, but he can't stay healthy to save his life. I hate to say it's just been the story of J.J. Watt for the past 5 or so years. Because of that massive light bulb going off in my head, a lot of people are saying maybe they take a cornerback here to help out Byron Murphy. Maybe they do. Maybe. I feel like D-line is way more of a need for him, though. Let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to help build up that interior offensive line just because They aren't what they used to be years ago. Their offensive line's getting a little bit older, and granted, they still have some really good guys. I mean, Zach Martin still has a lot left in him, but let's help out Dak Prescott in a way where we don't have to get him a weapon. In my opinion, the Bills have got to go one of two ways, either running back or cornerback. They could take a guy like Breece Hall. I just don't think that's a smart idea at all. Keep in mind, they lost Levi Wallace to the Pittsburgh Steelers this year in the offseason. And last year, whenever Tre'Davious White went out, it was a bit of a problem to say the least for him. My next best cornerback on the board is Kaiir Elam. We're going to pass on Trent McDuffie and pick them up a cornerback. Tennessee Titans are up next, and I don't think they'd be expecting Devin Lloyd to be here. He's a 3-down linebacker. He could tackle well. And I'm not even entertaining the fact that they could take a wide receiver. I don't understand why teams think that that's going to be a need. They picked up, who the heck was it that they picked up? They traded for Robert Woods. They have two guys. A.J. Brown, he's in a contract situation right now. I feel like they're going to figure that out. If they don't, then obviously wide receiver would make more sense. We're going to give them Devin Lloyd. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are up next. They got an all-around really good roster, still from that Super Bowl that they won a couple years ago. They don't need much, but where they're lacking, in my opinion, is at defensive back. So there's going to be another cornerback coming off the board, and that's going to be Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson. I don't remember a draft ever where I've seen so many cornerbacks have the potential to go out in the first round. This year, I'm going to say it. I feel like it's pretty special for cornerback. I feel like the bust rate on them is exceptionally high, but there's quite a few guys in this draft class that I feel good about. Green Bay is going to be up next with pick 28, their second pick in the first round. And because Devontae Wyatt, interior defensive lineman, is here, we are going to give them a guy on the defensive side. I know it's not the same position, but they lose Zadarius Smith, so kind of counteracting that a little bit with getting somebody else. The Chiefs are up next, pick 29 and pick 30. This has got to be a dream scenario for them. Daxton Hill falls to the Kansas City Chiefs. They lose Tyrann Mathieu. I'm sure they understand that they need to fill that position, and with him falling to them, love it. With their next pick, this is going to be another easy one. People are probably losing their minds that John Dotson fell this far all the way to pick number 30. I tell you what, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you end up with these two guys, you are ecstatic. Also, keep in mind, they could use both of these picks to try to trade up to get a more established guy. Oh, I don't know if I see it happening. This is a great scenario for them, though. We got two picks left. We have the Bengals and the Lions at pick number 32. The player I'm about to draft for him, it seems like a lot of people either really like him or they hate him. I'm on the side of liking him, so I'm going to be taking Tyler Lindenbaum. He's a pure center. This is a position that the Bengals are lacking drastically, and we got to protect the franchise quarterback, Joe Burrow. Now, Trent McDuffie being there might be very enticing for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if they selected him. Now, this is where we're going to get a little bit fun here with pick number 32. I'm going to make this pick, and I'm going to explain myself. We're going to go Matt Corral to the Detroit Lions with pick number 32. Our draft is officially over. I want you to keep in mind, this is a similar situation I'm thinking of that what the Baltimore Ravens did whenever they traded up to draft Lamar Jackson at the end of the first round. Now, here's the big thing. Because they're using a first-round pick, they get a fifth-year option on Matt Corral. That alone right there is so huge, and they don't have to use their early first-round pick on taking a quarterback. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be it for my mock draft. You can rate it F through A, A+. Give it an S tier if you want. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Please leave as much feedback down below. You can leave your predictions. You can tell me where I'm wrong. You can call me a moron. You can call me a genius. My IQ is about 150 though, so keep that in mind. If you're interested in seeing any more mock draft content, Joe and Logan over on Squadzilla actually did one, and they posted it right now. It's out right now. There's a link in the description. You can go head over there and you could roast them for being wrong if you want to. I'm sure they will greatly appreciate it. And then over on our War Room channel, we're going to compare both of ours. We're probably going to get into some arguments. That will also be linked once that goes live as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end things here and see how many we get right whenever the draft rolls around. Drop a like if you're excited for it. Oh, I'm fired up. With that said, you already know you're the best. God bless. Don't forget to keep first from YoBoy Pizza, and I'm out. Feel free to check out our War Room channel where we talk football every single day, and we're going to have a lot more draft coverage along with Joe and Logan, who did a mock draft themselves. Thank you all so much for watching.